over 80% of video content is watched without sound on. So having text on that video, whether it's in the form of subtitles or a headline, ideally both, to capture attention as people are scrolling through. If you're not doing that, there's a good chance so many people are just going to pass by your video.
Are you a consulting business owner seeking a better way to scale to your next million in revenue? Accelerate Sales Podcast features other experts who have cracked the code to predictable revenues with proven sales systems that quickly increase revenue and get you on the fast track back to doing what you do best. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast. So excited to have you here. So what are you going to learn from this interview today? So one is how to get attention on your social media. Wouldn't you like a little bit more of that? I'm sure you do. So please listen. The second is how to use a famous comedian's hack to make sure you get more attention and more engagement on your videos. And the third thing is discounted access to a brilliant platform to make it easy for you. So if you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe so you can get future podcasts. Also, if you're a long-term listener and you've done an iTunes, got YouTube in my head from today's conversation, an iTunes review, really appreciate it. And if you haven't, please do. It helps other people like you get access to this great content and the great guests that I bring on. As I always say, welcome to take notes, but there will be a summary of the key points in the app that you're looking at now, including all the links mentioned. And also you can go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and you can get the full transcription as well. So today's guest is an entrepreneur at heart, and he came off a venture that didn't quite work out. And it was around the time that Gary Vee and others were really promoting video on social media. And he found it pretty difficult to do that. So he created a platform himself, being from a very technical background. And lo and behold, now he helps thousands of people around the world with this easy to use platform to get attention on social media. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Craig Lillard from clipscribe.com. Welcome, Craig. So excited to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I've been a silent user of your product for a long, long time. So I can't wait to dig into that today. And most importantly, just the benefits of video, which, you are an expert and your platform's an expert at. But why don't we kick off with, who do you really love to work with?
Yeah, well, as somebody with a software platform, I'm happy to work with anybody that is making video content and wants to amplify the attention they get from their social media content. Mainly, Clipscribe is for social media more than like a long form like YouTube or Vimeo. It's really to help people get attention in the feed when people are scrolling by, at 900 miles an hour. That's our primary client base. But beyond that, honestly, really anybody that's posting video content on any of the social media platforms.
Oh, well, look, we might as well stop now because I'm sure no one has got any issues with people not, touching or clicking on their content and commenting or engaging or getting back to them, right? I'm sure every one of us is perfect in that way, right? So
we can just sign off right now, actually. This whole thing is pointless.
Well, why couldn't you actually, really target a problem that needs fixing, Craig? Like, come on, you can do better than that.
I know, man. I'm letting you down.
Yeah, and look, for most of us that are, B2B, LinkedIn is the place to be, right? And Gary Vee sort of coined that a couple of years ago, and it's only got more important. It's, the channel that we focus a lot on, and that's why I came across Clipscribe to really, improve my game in that sense. But, what are you seeing as some of the, the latest trends in particular with LinkedIn? What are you seeing as some of the latest trends with video at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is just simply text on your video. I mean, that's one of the main focuses of what Clipscribe does, but most people don't realize that I think it's over 80% of video content is watched without sound on. And once you hear that statistic, it kind of surprises you, but then it really makes sense. I mean, we're sitting in the doctor's office or we're in a meeting or whatever, and we open up a video
on the couch pretending to watch TV with your partner.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're supposed to be watching a show. Yeah, my wife has definitely been guilty of that over there. I call it her personal pan television. I'm like, what are you watching, your personal pan television over there? Like, we're watching a movie. So yeah, definitely. And I've been guilty of it myself. So having text on that video, whether it's in the form of subtitles or a headline, ideally both, to capture attention as people are scrolling through. If you're not doing that, there's a good chance so many people are just going to pass by your video. So to me, that's one of the biggest things. I mean, obviously just posting video content is something that a lot of people still aren't doing. I kind of see it like blogs were 15 years ago. Yeah. Nobody, very few people were blogging, and now it's become something necessary. I think more businesses are going to start having studios, in their offices where people can go in at any time and create video content. So just making it happen and putting that content out there is a big thing too.
Yeah, and look, I've been guilty of that, right? Like, I used to use the lack, I don't have the right equipment as a lovely excuse not to do video, right? And I'm sure you're listening or watching this at the moment, you're nodding your head, right? We've all done it. And look, it was only until 4 months ago, I actually bit the bullet and I got an SLR camera. In American dollars, it was roughly about 600 American dollars. I got a good Sigma lens, which was about the same. And I shoved a couple of lights in, and it is now, the quality of this that you're seeing is very achievable. Well, it's not that difficult to set up. And you can, literally have your own little mini studio at home as well. And, if, any tips you've got there because I know that, we'll talk more about your platform, which helps it make even look better, but the feed coming in, right? Any tips you've got based on, all the users that you talk to?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely starts with just make the content. Don't be so worried about it being perfect. I mean, I think I'm not the greatest example for that because, being somebody in video, I always kind of feel like this pressure, like I have to up the game a little bit, but for most of us, nobody really cares. I mean, you're going to care more about how your video looks than most people are going to care. And as somebody, who has a platform and people are doing video through my platform, I can say, I mean, there's just a lot of video. It's not professional per se, but that's not the point. You're not making a Steven Spielberg film. You're just using your camera as a medium to talk to somebody, and to have a conversation. So I would say, don't worry about it. Use your smartphone. If it's between your webcam and your smartphone, I always say, use your smartphone. The camera, I don't know what it is with webcams. The quality, I mean, even if you go buy a new one today, the quality is usually pretty bad. I just don't understand why they can't figure this webcam thing out. So I would say use your smartphone. The camera in your smartphone is going to be a million times better and almost as good as a DSLR. I mean, I was using my iPhone for a while, just shooting content with that. And also, once you get beyond that, I would say if you can have a space like you're talking about, this is my studio. It's just my office. Yeah. If you can have a space where you're not having to tear things down and put it back together and tear it down, if you can create that, you'll be a lot more likely to be more consistent in creating your content. So when you get to that point, I recommend trying to make that happen just because it'll take away that that excuse that, I have to get out my stuff and everything, and you won't have to rewire everything. So it's something I think is a good idea if you plan to do it long term.
Spot on. And I would call it the cookie approach, right? Like if you have, cookies in the kitchen at home, right? Chances are you're going to eat them, right? You just can't help taking them, and you'll take them until it's finished. I think for me, the biggest change was having, like, I totally agree with you with, an iPhone or an Android is much better than nothing, right? But once I've made it easy for me, so this setup is my, Zoom setup. It's, so I can quickly, turn it on in 2 seconds and go. Once I did that, I found it so much easier because you can think of a topic and go, bang, okay, I'm just going to record something. So for me personally, that made a massive difference to the volume of video put out. Now, not all videos are made equal. So, like you said, you focus mainly on social. So, what are the ingredients to the cake? Right? We talked about cookies. What are the ingredients to make a great cookie when it comes to a video?
Well, for social media, you're trying to get attention. Again, I keep saying that, but that's the goal. That's what Gary Vee, always talks about is the currency is attention. So, come out of the gate with something that's going to grab attention. Nobody cares really about much of what they're seeing on social media except their own things that they actually care about. So short videos, unless you already have an audience, you really don't need to make a 20 or 30 minute video. Now, if you're making 20 or 30 minute videos and people are watching them, then you're already there. You are very impressive because, most people don't have time to watch that. So don't feel pressured to make a big, long video. Try to keep it as short and concise as possible. I did stand-up comedy for a little while, and it was just really for fun. I took a class and I did some research, and there's this guy named Steve Roy, and he wrote this book called Killer Stand-Up. And he had this principle that worked my mind when it came to stand-up, which was that when you do stand-up comedy, every minute you should have, I think, between 6 and 8 laughs where 80% of the audience is laughing. And so if you're just getting into stand-up, what a lot of people do is they tell stories, but there's a 5-minute long story that they've told all their life and people laughed at it with the punchlines at the very end. And so they spent 5 minutes telling this story and nobody's laughing. And then hopefully the last few seconds people laugh. Well, what he was basically saying is fill that story up with little comedy bits so that every few seconds you say something that grabs attention and makes people laugh. So I think that principle is really good to move over to video content too, that you need to be thinking about how can I hook them all the way through, not try to get somebody to hang on while I tell this big, long, kind of boring story and get to the good part. Try to mix good parts in. And honestly, if it's really not that interesting, then just leave it out, just try to bang, bang, bang with some really good, hard-hitting, interesting content. And don't feel bad about editing out the stuff that you might lose somebody on.
I think that's brilliant. And, for me, I think, it's that positive constraint, right? That you've got 2 minutes, therefore your story is going to be sharper and better than if it goes longer. Totally agree. And, we were talking in the which was, about TikTok, for example. And, I know for me, like the reason I love TikTok, I'm a mad golfer. And the reason I love TikTok is I can get the tip in 2 minutes, right? Yeah. Whereas on YouTube, I've got to listen to 10 minutes. So I do 15 minutes a day of TikTok, right? So I can get so many more golf tips in versus YouTube. So is that sort of how it's playing out, or seeing, my experience, is that sort of playing out for general consumers around the world?
I mean, it all depends. I think you should be creating different types of content for different platforms. And that's another thing Clipscribe is good for is taking one video and turning it into multiple, have a longer version, and then you can take clips out of it and create shorter versions with different layouts for different platforms. That's another thing that since we're talking about Gary Vee, he talks about is not making one video and then just putting the exact same piece of content on every platform. And you really can't do that anyway, since there are limits, like TikTok and Instagram and everything. You got time limits anyway. So but the other side of that is some people just don't have time to be making multiple pieces of content or, different content. So that's where I think Clipscribe comes in handy, that you can take maybe a 5-minute video and put that on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, but then take little tiny bits of it and put those out there and let those bits lead people in, to your longer form content. So that's what I generally recommend, people do if they can do that.
Yeah, great. Well, let's quickly talk about some of those nuances, right? Because you're seeing it across, all of your users on the platform. So, we've sort of talked about LinkedIn, a couple of minutes, always have captions, etc. What about YouTube? What are the key trends you're seeing with video on YouTube?
Well, YouTube, like I said, YouTube's kind of it's I see YouTube as more of a long form platform. Sometimes people use Clipscribe for YouTube and for longer form content. And honestly, I kind of say the same thing to them. Again, Clipscribe is all about attention. And if somebody's watching a 20-minute on YouTube video, arguably you have their attention. So that's why I see a difference between what I call subtitles and closed captions.
Yes.
Closed captions are there for, if you're hearing impaired or you just want to read what is being said, or, maybe you do have your sound off and you want to read it. Subtitles in the context of Clipscribe are for attention. They're to grab attention and to keep attention as somebody is flying through the feed, and you want to hold on to them for those few seconds so that you can build some kind of connection with them. So YouTube is what it is. To me, it's a longer form content platform, versus Facebook and LinkedIn.
Let's talk about Facebook. What's big on? What do you recommend on Facebook at the moment?
Well, for again, shorter videos, I think 3 to 5 minutes, maybe even a little less, maybe even a little more. As far as layouts go, I like square video for Facebook with horizontal. So the square layout with a horizontal video. I always recommend people shoot horizontal video over vertical.
Yeah.
I know for a while vertical was being pushed, by a lot of gurus, and I never really understood it because the benefit of horizontal, which is what we've been doing for eons, arguably
you don't watch a vertical movie on Netflix, right?
Right, exactly. And so if you start horizontal, you can stack on top of it. You can put a bar on top and bottom, and now you have a vertical video. But if you start vertical, it's almost impossible to make that a horizontal video without cropping parts of your face off. And it just gets very difficult. So if you start horizontal, you can always go vertical. If you start vertical, you already limited yourself to really pretty much vertical and maybe a portrait layout. Yeah. So I recommend people do horizontal. You can put that in a square format. You can have a headline at the top. You can have your subtitles. And then you can take that same video and put it on LinkedIn. Those two platforms don't always share the same people. So I would say that's a great idea. And then you can turn that same video into a vertical video for IGTV and Instagram. IGTV's got this weird thing where they crop off the top and the bottom of your video when they show it on Instagram. And so when you use one of these vertical layouts we have with your video in the middle, and without going into, it's boring to talk about all the technical stuff, but you can format it so that your video shows up on IGTV and looks great, and it will look great on Instagram as well. But again, that means you got to start with a horizontal video to be able to do that in the first place. So
yeah, and that's what I love about your platform, is that it's so easy to do that. And I recommend that you definitely go and look at the platform. So we'll have an offer that Craig's kindly given us at the end. But just visualize now, like you've got this video you shot 2 minutes and you pop it up on LinkedIn, you get no love. You go onto Craig's platform, Clipscribe, and in, maybe 5 minutes the first time, because, if you do the captions, you got to do a little bit of tweaking, but you have, your template, you have your header. It just looks so much more professional, and you can do it on your mobile phone. You can do it yourself, and you don't have to get someone externally to do it. I now have my team do it. So I just shoot the video and my team do it. But if you want to do it yourself, you can. And the difference, like for me, for views, there was, sometimes a 3 to 5 time increase in views. Wow. And, I'm talking about some of my videos get, 3,000 to 5,000 views. So it makes a significant difference from using it. And what are you saying, Craig, just as, what videos are sort of working best to get action, right? So attention, I totally get, but that engagement. So is there any tips you've got on getting people to actually comment, say on LinkedIn or on Facebook, to actually comment? Is there any little tips for the trade that you know?
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm the best to answer that question, to be honest with you, because I'm more the technical guy. And I made Clipscribe to make it easier for me to put out content, because it's difficult for me to create content. And so I tried to say, how can I make a way that takes down those barriers from me creating content? Because I'll be the first to say, I'm not a content guru, but I would say, that comes down to the presenter more than anything, and putting yourself in the shoes of the people that are watching your video, asking questions, and it's a lot of testing and trying different things out and seeing what people respond to. But if you don't ask, nobody's going to respond to anything. So any way that you can put a question out there, ask people to comment, give their feedback, put something, maybe a little something that catches their attention. I mean, that's to me, that's the best way to do that and to get those people to respond.
Yeah, and look, on the way that LinkedIn algorithm works, as far as we know, is that comments are worth double a like, right? So the algorithm for LinkedIn is it'll first just randomly share it across your followers. And therefore, if you've got followers that know your connections, I should say, connections that know you, there's a chance that they'll like it in the feed, and the algorithm goes, okay, that's good. This is obviously getting traction. But the next most important thing is it looks at the comments, right? So in your videos, make sure that you're asking people to comment and do it exactly to them, right? So a lot of times it's like we're making a presentation. I think the key thing, like you said, Craig, is that you actually look people in the eye in the camera and actually ask a question to one person. And I often actually have my ideal client profile sitting there, and I'm like, this is the person I'm actually talking to, and I'm asking them that question, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the way you can definitely get increased views. And also when people comment on your post, there's a great opportunity then to reach out to them, because you've got a common connection, right? It's not as cold as if you just outreach to someone cold. So I think that's brilliant. And what about, maybe you can give us a couple of little glimpses into maybe some things that you're going to develop or what's coming new in the Clipscribe.
So ClipScribe is constantly being updated. New features are always coming out. So I've just rolled out several new features over the last several months. One is the ability to add an audio waveform. So if you just you don't have a video, you just have an audio podcast, and you want to have an audio waveform playing along with your audio. That's one that we just added several weeks ago, basically. We got features coming out. This has been asked for, is the ability to easily add intros and outros to your video and basically put those in kind of in a rules-based fashion so that, every new video you make, you can have your intro at a certain point, your outro at the end. You don't have to go in and do anything to make that happen. And then something I'm excited about, something called, I'm calling them callbacks. A lot of times when you see video online and at the very beginning of the video, the first few seconds is a section from the video that was especially arresting and attention getting. So I'm going to make a real easy way for you to just click off, because ClipScribe, as you know, you edit based on what you say, not what you see. And this is one of the things that makes it really easy to edit out sections of your video, edit out blank spots, edit out mistakes. You just literally, you see what you said there in a subtitle block and you turn it off, and that's edits that out completely out of your video. So, but you can also just click off these subtitle blocks and say, hey, I want to say this at the very beginning of my video, and boom, that section's going to play at the very beginning. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I think people are really going to like that.
That's a great idea. And look, I know, we'll do it to you, this podcast, my editor, Ballas. So appreciate, big shout out to him. But yeah, that's what we do on podcasts. I think it's natural to do it on videos, right? So yeah, I think that's a brilliant feature, and it's definitely one we're going to double down on. Well, look, I could talk to you about this platform for forever, Craig. We'll obviously, like I said, have that offer at the end, but what we're going to do is just quickly go into a short break, and then we'll be back in a moment. So are you sitting here listening to Craig and thinking, this is wonderful, right? We're going to get these videos out, but then it's like, well, when people come in to my business, how do I have the sales system? Like at the moment, I'm probably a little bit choked up. It's mainly me doing all the sales. So if that's you, what I want you to do is go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/pulse. There's 9 questions that really talks through what are the key things that you need to accelerate your sales. So there's some great questions there. It won't take you long, but the most important thing is depends on your answers. So think of it as a bit of a benchmarking exercise. Then we'll have a call and talk through the nuance of what some of those gaps are specific to you, right? So it's a great opportunity for you and I to talk on that. It's not a sales call. It's actually me recommending what I would do given your specific situation. So it's a great opportunity. Just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/pulse. So Craig, you ready for the sales habits deep dive?
Let's do it.
All right, great. So the first question is, what are some daily habits that help you to accelerate your sales?
Well, as a software, I have a little bit of a different, type of situation, because I don't, it's not really a sales, we don't have a sales team. We don't have outbound sales or whatever. Yep. So for me, number one is product. Having a great product is very important. And constantly working on the product. Number two is just relationships with people. You were talking about posts and commenting, and one of the most beneficial thing that I've done is to run a Facebook ad. And when somebody comments on that Facebook ad, I engage and I comment with them. And I've had so many people literally say, I'm going to buy this solely because of your comment on your Facebook ad or how you respond and connect with people. So that's definitely
that's a
very big thing. And that really just comes down to, caring about people, putting people first, letting them know that they are actually important to you. How many times, and this is another one of those, how many times have I responded to an email or a question and somebody says, oh, I was surprised you even responded, to my email. And it's just like, man, really? I know that happens because it's happened to me, but yeah, just trying to, if you can just go a little bit farther beyond than what most people would do, you'll make an impact. And really, if you can make even just that little bit of an impact that says, hey, I actually care about you beyond just wanting your money, the sales part might just happen on its own if you can do that. So that's one of my main things.
Yeah, spot on. And I know ClipScribe is technology used to accelerate your sales yourself, but what else? What's any other technology that you use to help accelerate your sales?
Well, I'm a big paid advertise person. So that's, like I said, Facebook ads. I have grown, most of my businesses on the back of either Google advertising or Facebook advertising. But I will say that one of the things that I have taken for granted is just the power of networking. My previous two companies, I just sat behind a computer and ran ads pretty much. I wasn't a good networker. And my last company kind of had it ended badly after 10 years. Long, crazy story, but we just basically had to start over. And I thought, I'm going to go do some local marketing with some local businesses. Well, my problem was I didn't have any money for advertising. We were pretty much broke at that point. So somebody said, you need to go network. You should go to like a networking group. And so I did that, and I just wanted to just tear my eyes out because I was like, this is the biggest waste of time ever is what I thought. And slowly over time, I kept doing it, and I'd meet people, and I started getting business out of it. And, the next thing I know, things are going pretty well just from making these contacts. So that was one of the things that inspired ClipScribe and just creating video content, because, this was right around the time it's Gary V day. But right about the time he was putting out a lot of video, Casey Neistat was putting out video. And I started thinking, how can you scale that? How can you scale networking? Because obviously networking is powerful. And that's when I realized video is one of, I don't know, it might be one of the only ways that you can actually scale that network effect, the know, like, trust factor, And so that's a big one for me. How can you scale getting people to know you and like you and trust you? And I think video is a very powerful way to do that.
Totally agree. Video. And then the other one is the biggest networking group in the world at the moment is LinkedIn, right? So, you can do it 24/7, and you can, you can have your team also behave as you, if they're using your words, which is possible, right? Which we do all the time as well. So I think that's brilliant. So the last one is, what's one action that someone can take to 10x their sales today?
That's a tough one. I suppose it depends on their business, and that answer could change definitely depending on what their business is. But I would say, first of all, figure out what is working or what will work for you, and then it's just the common answer: do it consistently. You got to figure out what is that thing. For me, for ClipScribe, it was Facebook ads. For my past businesses, it was Google ads. But I tried other things that either didn't work or eventually they worked. And then there are longer tail things like SEO and like video content that if you don't do them consistently over time, recognizing you're not going to see a result probably maybe for a long time, but continually doing those consistently, you won't see the benefit, but you could see a great benefit if you'll stick with it. So that's what I would say. Find something that works for your business, and then stick with it until it doesn't work anymore, and then try to fix it And if it quits working, find something else.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
Wise words. Well, look, as I've said, I really love ClipScribe. We use it regularly and appreciate it. And Craig wants you to have that experience as well. So if you go to clipscribe.com/ASP, there's a 20% discount on the Pro plan, which is a fantastic opportunity. It's this podcast is coming out on the 2nd of November, so it'll be open until the 30th of November, 2021. And if you have missed that window, still reach out to Craig on social, and he may be able to do something for you. Not a deal that good, but he may be able to do something as a reward for you listening to this podcast. But Craig, it's been brilliant having you on. I really love the product. I really want other people to take that opportunity, because you said networking is so important, and I do think that video plays an enormous role in that. And really thank you for making it easy to do that. So wonderful having you on today, Craig.
Thanks, Paul. I sure appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Bye. So I really love that interview with Craig, and you can see that his sales skills he's continuing to work on. But actually you don't need that. What you need to do is just go and get the 20% discount off the Pro version and try ClipScribe yourself. It's a great platform. So go and do that and try those little snippets that he spoke about, like the comedian 5-minute story, and have the highlights. I think that was something that I'll definitely be doing more in my videos. And he also talked off air that he's now got a new feature where you can take any clip from the video and bring it forward to the start. So a little bit like I do on my podcast, which is wonderful. So why don't you give Craig a bit of love on social media? So if you enjoyed this, reach out to him. He's probably more on Facebook than LinkedIn, to be honest, but you can find him on both. Obviously, you've taken notes, but there is a summary that you can go back to. It has all the links. Also, you can go to our website and get the full transcription as well. And the other thing is that share it with others. That even when you see your peers or your colleagues do a video and you think, gee, that's a bit boring, not the content, but the way that it comes across and it didn't grab your attention, go and send them to clipscribe.com, and Craig can definitely help them out. And as you can see, Craig's very passionate about his product, and he does reply to people, their comments on Facebook and other areas. So he's fully engaged. Also, if you want to know if you've got that sales system that I spoke of, just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/pulse. As always, listen to other shows. I do some solo shows as well, which are around 10-minute mark. So go and try some of those if you're new. And the last thing, as always, please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.